Okay, good afternoon and welcome guys to Dollars for Lunch. The last time I checked, I am still Dane van der Mast and it is currently Thursday, the 26th of January. Listen, first and foremost, if you were with us yesterday throughout any of the shows, just please put your hand up in the comments. Let me know where you're at. We want to make sure you are with us and were with us part of yesterday's sessions, guys. I'm so happy with yesterday's broadcast. We had a powerful Dollars for Lunch. We implemented our newly defined US30 cheat sheet. We had a powerful session in the evening. I was just amazed how many of you were with us at 1 a.m., 1:30, 2 a.m. this morning as we were diving deep into the markets. I'm just super proud of every single one of you. I'm super proud of our community for sticking it through and making it through the long run. I hope you guys have learned something specifically from yesterday's broadcast. Today and this Dollars for Lunch, we are tying that all together. So we are tying that together and seeing how can we benefit the market? How can we dominate? Again, there's a tons of info, data in the background that we are able to use to essentially plan and make our trading so much better. That's what it's all about. That's what Globex 360 Live TV is about. It's about you. It's the community. It's about every single one of you as traders. I can see a ton of hands up in the air saying you guys were with us last night. You guys are absolutely amazing. So I just want to know for you really quickly, one last thing before we move forward is what one thing about yesterday's broadcast, about last night's teachings, about any one thing, was there any one thing that hit you hard and you feel gave you a further and deeper insight into the markets? I'd just like to know from you one thing. Addition to that, I just want you guys' votes. For those of you who were with us last night, we did say that we'll give out for the top 3 most crazy people in the chats who are bringing the heat, bringing the love, sharing the energy. We would also give those $100 equity bonuses towards your account. So I'd love for you guys to vote. For those of you who were in last night's Tesla Trade-a-thon for that 2-hour plus stream, I'd like for you guys to vote for each other. Just vote, who did you think was the person pushing the most? I know Rufus Chua was obviously pushing and bringing the heat. We had John Micketts in there. We had a ton of people bringing the heat absolutely. I just like you guys to vote on that, and I'll bring that around towards the end. We'll get those MT4s in and we'll get you guys sorted out. Yes, Aslam already got his $100. I do believe it is allocated. Aslam, if you can please confirm. I don't know if Aslam is with us, but just a quick shout out to our MVTs highlighted in green here really quickly, starting from the top up. Tumelo was first to comment this afternoon. Good afternoon, fam. Then we have John Micketts, Shamim Musa, Fruwad. We also have Rufus Chua. We have John again, Nadir Cohen, Garrett Ivan Page, Nadir. Shamim is in the house, Rishmi in the house, Lana, we have Fruwad, as well as Shamim again, locking in for that last comment really there. US30 got a power buy from Vanden, beautiful stuff. Okay guys, so how do we tie this all in together, and why did I start the broadcast at 4:15 instead of 3:15? Knowing very well there's fundamentals. As you guys know, in the past 2 weeks, fundamentals have been broken. Right, have been absolutely broken. So again, this afternoon, I was looking at that, looking at the data, looking at where we're going, and I was under the impression that we could see broken fundamentals once again. And what do you know? That's exactly what we got on the markets, right? So that's where we're going to start off this afternoon. We're going to start off with a little bit of news, just check what's happening in the world, and then we're going to move into some of those fundamentals in terms of what is happening in the world. So let's jump straight into it without further ado. Let's get into the news. We are going to be trading a bunch this afternoon. We're going to be looking at the New York Stock Exchange Open. We're going to be looking at deploying our newly found US30 or indices strategy. We're also going to be having a look at opportunities in USDR. And again, we are going to be looking at those Tesla opportunities. Again, Tesla will open up for markets again at that 430 mark on the New York Stock Exchange Open. As we said yesterday, Tesla looks like a great buy. Markets have confirmed that Tesla has jumped a good percentage since our last broadcast, and we're looking at, are we going to be in a good position to take up some Tesla trades and have some long-term swing trades on Tesla? Again, as always, everything we do here is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as financial advice. Have to just put that in there. All right, let's get into a small screen share really quickly. South Africa has hiked the interest rates by 25%. Now, again, this comes in the midst of interest rate hikes pretty much becoming the norm around the world right now. And then again, that's just common ground. That's just what we see happening. Again, that just means that what we are going to end up seeing is if you have a variable interest rate on your credit card, on your house, anything that has a variable interest rate, these interest rate hikes are going to affect you, meaning you will be paying more and more in most cases for debt. So again, along with the ripple effect from what is happening in the USA, for those of you who listened in on the call, Elon Musk said it's very, very likely we're going to go into a big recession, and it's also likely, and he believes it's going to be a bad one. Now, this is coming from Elon Musk, who understands a ton about the world and understands a ton about economies, and South Africa is in a delayed process. We have a ripple effect. We have a delayed reaction to what happens in the US. So looking at these interest rate hikes, things becoming more expensive, inflation, and a potential recession, there's never been a better time to diversify your ability to make an income. So again, for those of you who are here with us this afternoon, just a massive shout out to you, because you know what's up and you are upskilling yourself, preparing yourself for the future. So I'm just going to hide out this chat box really quickly. I'll bring it back a little bit later once we get into it. But yeah, interest rate hikes are going to have a ripple effect on all of us across the board. Now, in US news, are definitely going to be some of that fundamental data, that GDP forecast have been completely smashed. A lot of the US data that came in this afternoon 3:30 was positive, meaning we should see an uptick in the dollar and we should technically see a sell-off in US30. But are we seeing that? That is my big question, and we will look at that in a second. There's an article that breaks that down a little bit, available to you on Yahoo Finance. But again, one of the big highlights is going to be Tesla stock. So if you're in with us on our Tesla trade-a-thon last night, you'll understand that it was handled exceptionally well. Tesla beat out the forecast, as well as handled all the questions that were thrown at them exceptionally well, dealing with questions extremely well, and obviously just making sure that there is confidence in the market. Tesla prices, from my perspective, my personal opinion, are extremely low. The company is well set up, and Elon even went as far as to say Tesla will become the most valuable company on the planet. Okay, this is not the first time he said this, and he wouldn't be saying this if he didn't have the reason to, right? He also mentioned some products coming out that will absolutely dominate the market, but didn't feel necessary to let investors know, or didn't feel insecure to have to do that in order to raise share prices. So we are going to look at Tesla stock. That's also coming up in the next few minutes. Now, quickly moving as we go into the fundamental side of things, we want to open up and we just want to have a look at what is happening from a fundamental perspective. Now, as always, before we jump into those fundamentals, we're quickly having a look at the S&P 500 heat map. Fairly mixed across the board, and that is as of yesterday. Once the New York Stock Exchange opens, we should see a good jump on Tesla, again trading well over that 150 mark, 159 if I'm not mistaken there. So we're going to see a good jump in Tesla stock across the board. Now, economic calendar is chock full of information. While we have only around about 5 minutes and 15 seconds left before the New York Stock Exchange opens, I just want to touch on the most important items. Again, the fact that the South African Reserve Bank only hiked by 0.25 and not the full 0.5% there can be seen as a little bit of a dovish technique there. But the most important item here is going to be some of these fundamentals, right? The most important being some of these continuing jobless claims. right? More people have filed for unemployment than expected. That's a continuous claim. It's not NFP, as well as initial jobless claims right there. I'll make this a little bit bigger for us. There we go. That should be big enough for us to see. Initial jobless claims came out under expectation. They expected for 205,000 Americans to file for unemployment, but only 186,000 did. So that is obviously positive for the dollar. Core durable goods orders came in under numbers here, better than negative 0.2. That is good for the dollar. GDP price index came out better than expected, 3.5%. And the big one here is going to be gross domestic product for the US, coming out at 2.9% as opposed to the 2.6% mark. So again, gross domestic product is a major fundamental sort of item that we look at to look at how well an economy is doing. And that's a direct correlation, gross domestic product. What portion of the population is essentially productive and adding value to the economy? So that is a good one for the dollar. And again, we would expect to see in these situations some dollar strength, right? And is that the case? We are going to have a look here. Are fundamentals truly broken? I'd like to get you guys votes just before we get into that next section. My question to you is, are the fundamentals broken? I'd love to know your take on this, because we're going to break this down together and come to a conclusion as a team. Okay, the other item that is obviously important is durable goods orders. That came in at 5.6%, massively smashing that 2.5% item there. The only other item that is going to have a little bit of impact on the market coming at 5 p.m. will be new home sales. Beautiful stuff. Let's see. Monkey ZARFX says, on news release, I thought if possible for dollar, then sell on NAS and US 100, but that was not the case. There we go. So that's a good example of where the correlation is broken, right? Where we expect to see a stronger dollar essentially translate into a weaker stock market. We would expect to see that translate into a sell-off on commodities, a sell-off on gold, a sell-off on Brent crude, on these types of items, because why? They are priced in the dollar. So when the dollar gets stronger, these items sell off. When the dollar loses value, these items raise in value. Traditionally speaking, right? It's not set in stone. And in the last couple of weeks, we're seeing that become more of a trend of it not traditionally working out in that same manner. So how do we deal with this? Very, very, very simple. We deal with this by navigating and changing strategies in the market. And that's why we introduced yesterday a new strategy to essentially deal with the markets. And that's what we're going to essentially practice this afternoon. But really quickly, before we get into that, I just want to point out and just do a quick recap on that Tesla earnings report there. This is Tesla stock right there. That is looking at the last stock split that we've had. Very clearly, Tesla stock started to make that breakout formation. Having looked at that earnings report really quickly, there's the earnings card. I don't know how clear that is for everybody to see. I'll try and make it as big as humanly possible. There we go there. So again, Tesla estimated a $1.12 EPS. Earnings per share, they delivered a 1.19. They estimated 24.66 billion in terms of revenue, and they delivered a 24.31. This estimate does change from different news reports or different anchors, depending where you get it. A lot of the ones that I read actually showed that it beat expectations across the board. So again, just a quick update there. So ZARFX is saying, so will it be better for technicals? It's like the markets want to take our money, lol. 100%. You guys have heard me say it time and time again. Fundamentals are great. What's happening in the news is great. Politics great. Price action remains king. Okay, so let's jump into our analysis. Let's have a look at what's happening on the dollar index. Let's transition into indices and then into commodities as we break it down. We're going to have a little bit of time between now and 5 o'clock. Remember, the new strategy we've identified is we allow that initial market impulse to happen, and then we dive deeper into the market. So we're going to see a bit of volatility come in at 4:30. We could potentially chase that volatility if we get a breakout, but ultimately 5 o'clock, we're going to start to see a true market trend, or at least a market trend that will allow us to bank 1,000, 2,000 pips, potentially 3,000, provided it's a continuation. So let's get started. Let's jump straight into it. And as always, You guys know the deal. We start off on our FX analysis as we have a look at the old dollar index, our good old friend there. So everybody should be quite familiar with the dollar index. It's something that we deal with and we utilize a lot to index and bench the markets on. Dollar index, just to give you an example of how broken the fundamentals definitely seem, here's the dollar index, right? Again, we just went through it together, right? Dollar outperformed on GDP, outperformed on a bunch of items, and failed to make any highs. We actually got a pullback towards the downside. Alverna is saying market is open. Alverna, I've got you there. We are not too stressed about the New York Stock Exchange open or that volume coming in. So have a look here. Volume is coming in. We're getting that push towards the downside. But again, we're going to look at that first impulse, await for it to deteriorate, and then make a decision on some trend and direction. This is currently looking at US30 really quickly. That first impulse happened towards the downside. Now, I went opposite to the fundamentals this afternoon, purely looking at the trend of the past couple of weeks. I've got in a buy already at this level, and it's a feeler trade, right? So I've got in a buy there, and have a look at how markets are obviously already spiking up. Above this level, you can chase a buy. So if you guys want to, you can add in a position there to try and get in on that buy. But again, we just want to wait for that volatility to essentially close off, or at least slow down there. That's going to be the big item that we want to watch out for. So I can add in, I'll add in another feeler buy here. But again, my big idea here is that we want to wait for that volume to essentially die off, and then we can obviously make a bit of a better trade here, because our strategy is looking at that 5 p.m. mark and how do we take advantage of the true volume and true direction in the markets, right? So that's currently US30. Now, going back to the fundamentals in terms of why we believe that it's disjointed and or broken, this is currently looking at a 1 minute time frame, right? Over here we have the 330 release of those fundamentals. So 330 initially, markets reacted towards the downside. We can see here we have a move of over 500 pips towards the downside, but ultimately an immediate reversal, and subsequently 5 minutes after that, markets had already beaten out that move and started to move to the top side. So you can see this afternoon how the indecision is currently sitting, right? We're sitting in a market that's sideways, and that's what we identified with the new strategy, is that instead of running in the New York Stock Exchange open, we wait for that volatility to play out, just as we saw yesterday, and then make a move. I think as a good example for those who weren't part of yesterday's session or yesterday's analysis, it might be worthwhile for us to maybe go through what happened yesterday. So here's yesterday's session, right? Again, our New York Stock Exchange open. New York Stock Exchange open, market started to press up, and traditionally, if this was 2022, we would have chased the initial impulse, right? In terms of wherever the market ended up going. We did not chase the initial impulse. At that point of there, we had a few people in the comments saying buy now, buy now. And this is why I really don't, I ideally don't like that whole buy now strategy. Markets ended up reversing to a market bottom, retraced substantially, and then made that good impulse towards the downside. Let's just check here, and that was for around about 2,500 pips towards the downside. But quickly changing gears to Tesla right now in terms of that market gap. We're quickly going to have a look at Tesla over there. Markets are now open. We see that Tesla has moved from that 144 mark to the 159 mark. Now, again, for those of you who are asking questions about Tesla in terms of, what should their, what would the recommendation be from a margin and trade perspective, I just want to show you guys this really quickly. That a standard lot of Tesla, right? Because I'm looking at going long on Tesla. A standard lot of Tesla would consume quite a bit of margin. You're looking at round about, I'd say around about $15,000 to $16,000 from a margin perspective, right? So on Tesla, I'm simply just drawing my stop loss. I'm going to have a stop loss on Tesla of around about 135. No, I think I'm going to have a stop loss of 125. So I'm looking to hold Tesla long term, looking to hold Tesla way into the future and see how that rolls. That is my big goal here, not looking to essentially just get in and out of that. So on Tesla, I'm looking for that buy there. I would recommend if you're sitting on 10 to 20,000 Rand, try and open up a 0.01, look at how much margin it consumes, and then subsequently look at opening up maybe a 0.05, something of that nature. Remember, as markets open up, Tesla may look at trying to close the gap. So even if you are looking at getting to Tesla, you may have an opportunity to get in a little bit later once markets cool off a little bit and potentially make a pullback into that $150 per share range, right? That's going to be the ultimate value proposition. Again, markets gapped in after hours trading. This is now in hours trading. So it's definitely something we want to be paying attention to. So Stacey's asking, what is the lot size for 0.01 worth? I'll open up another 0.01 here. Let's just have a look here. I'm just going to get into on a 1 minute time frame. So on a 1 minute time frame, to have a $140 or $140 per share stop loss, you're looking at about $17. And then if you have a look at where we could go from a TP perspective, it's obviously quite substantial. I just want to move that TP away. Give me a second. I mean, considering also the fact that this could become one of the most valuable companies on earth, it is substantial. So for Tesla to breach on a 0.01, for Tesla to breach on a 0.01, you're looking at about $150 on that $300 setup. Tesla on ZyFX is TSLA, just to give you that answer really quickly. Okay, let's quickly have a look at our US100 or our NASDAQ, our US30. Okay, so US30's volatility, exactly as we've said in yesterday's session, the reason we developed this new strategy is that we see exactly this, right? We see sideways momentum. We see a bunch of volatility, traders being caught into buys and sells, and we are simply waiting this afternoon for that 5 o'clock mark. 5 o'clock, we're looking for that reversal. And let me just go back into the past analysis. I just want to make sure I got in a Tesla trade there before we got carried away with US30. So let me just show you what happened yesterday to just give you a better understanding and just give you a little bit of confidence as to why we're doing what we're doing. So yesterday, again, as I'm saying, this is the New York Stock Exchange open. Here is 4:30. Markets initially pressed up, and then we started to get a bunch of ranging momentum in the markets, right? It took a bit longer than expected, but at 5:30, we got the true trend direction, that breakout. We started to essentially trade an early sell out of there. I took an early sell, again, just to go against the market or go against what the New York Stock Exchange usually does. And then we finally got that breakthrough in that area. I know we also had a bunch of pending orders set up at the 33,400 mark, and from 33,400 to 33,277, you guys should have been in plus minus about 1,200, 1,400 pips, even from the pending order level. But from an earlier level, again, you should have been around about 2,500 pips. So that's what we're looking to trade this afternoon. We're not looking to deal with the volume or the volatility. We're merely looking to take advantage of that move towards that downside. That is our main goal this afternoon. So again, we're going to see a little bit of a sideways momentum, sideways motion here, a bit of a range. There is an opportunity for those of you who really enjoy scalping to scalp out these ranges. It's an additional strategy that can be implemented, but well knowing that there is that volatility, you could be in a position to, when you see the market range like that, we also understand that the market ranges from 338.85 to 33440. So these ranges right there, it seems like nothing. There's a 1 minute time frame, but that's a 400 pip range, guys. So again, if you're the type of trader that likes to scalp, then this range might be exactly what you're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and close out both of these trades there quickly in profit really quickly. There's about a $4,000 profit there on that one, and I just want to go ahead and close out. That's 3,000, 3,500, 3,600, 3,800. So you should be past break even now. And what I'm going to do, instead of closing that one, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover and adjust my stop loss into a little bit of a break even territory right there. So I'm changing that to a break even territory, just so that this trade is essentially covered. Still running in terms of a buy. Akil saying sell side on NAS coming soon, 100% on NAS, identified the structural level here. And again, right, the data says that stronger dollar weaker stock markets. That's how we've dealt with it. That's how we've banked hundreds of thousands of pips in 2022, and we're seeing that inverted. And that's why I was asking, do you think the fundamentals are broken? I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Again, there is a lot of discussions around interest rates slowing down, and the more confidence coming into the stock market, so on and so forth. And obviously, Tesla would lend its hand in terms of a share price. That optimism would lend its hand to US30 as well, and even the tech industry as a whole, right? So I'm just going to leave that trade in there. That trade is currently running at about $5,000 odd dollars there. I'm just going to leave that trade in play. If it comes and closes at break even, I'm super happy with that. Again, because our main goal is obviously closing out or taking direction at 5 o'clock. So that's what we're essentially holding out for this afternoon. Let's quickly give a quick spy onto Tesla and how Tesla is doing there. Tesla is still at break even. Again, this is going to become a long-term trade, right? Understanding that Tesla could easily get back to the 300 range, even the 415 range. And again, just echoing sort of Elon's sentiments there, that Tesla, and he didn't have any doubts about that. For the guys, for those of you that listened in on his actual into the webinar, his his ability to speak is a little bit hampered, right? Really struggled. But when it came to his statements about Tesla being the most valuable company on earth, he did not mince his words. He said straightforward, Tesla will become the most valuable company on earth. And if you look at his track record, it's hard to argue with the guy, right? It's hard to argue with the guy. Again, it's speculation, but it's hard to argue with the guy. Ben is asking, what about NASDAQ? So NASDAQ, in terms of our new strategy, NASDAQ is attempting to poke out, and we can utilize the exact same thing on NASDAQ, meaning we allow that initial New York Stock Exchange volume to materialize, just having a look there. And we allow that to play out, and we see what ends up happening there. Let's quickly see if we can get German 30 on the board. I just want to have a look if I have my German 30 charts. Let's just have a look here. Okay, I didn't save a German 30. That's fine. We can just open up a brand new one and just give it a quick spy. Okay, so German 30 currently looking at 1 hour. Let's drop maybe to a 5 minute just to see how it's reacting. Okay, so it's staying largely unaffected. Again, we can see there the 330 mark, the fundamental data came, and we're not getting much of a movement there. German 30 trending quite nicely, but again, we're not seeing the strategy play out as well when it comes to German 30, right? To give you an example of yesterday, right, there's a 330 mark on German 30, a little bit sideways, and then ultimately a push towards that top side, not a downside move. Later on at 1730, 1740, we then got the volume that carried towards the top side, which is indicative of what we saw in the markets. Akil saying, in my opinion, NAS can fall too. Akil, actually, I support you there 100%. Again, because this volume to the top side seems very fake. Again, fundamentals are pointing towards the downside, sure, but we're failing to make any meaningful movements here. If you have a look at this, it's just a mess, right? It's just sideways. It's confused. It's like that the guy that hangs around the 7-Eleven. You know he's on tick or something. He's just all over the place. That's what it looks like right now. So I'm not too convinced that this is a continuation towards the top side. That's why I'm happy to have my break even there, to close out that trade, to let it be what it is. And I'm pretty happy with that. I got no issues whatsoever. So I'm looking at potentially, where do we see the value proposition here, and where's our breakout points? For me, right, when a market spikes top and bottom, and there's just a little bit of an added bonus to those of you, when a market makes these top and bottom spikes, I'm going to zoom in here, they're showing you the depth of the market here, right? They're showing you the depth of the market. I believe that New York Stock Exchange is open and essentially clearing out a bunch of traders, right, from going long. Again, it's pushed to the top. Most traders who just trade price action, who don't have strategy involved, are just trading market direction, right? So I'm curious to get into the sell already. I'm curious to get into the sell. So I'm going to add in a sell feeler here. I'm going to use about a 800 pip stop loss. I'm curious to get into this one. I know it's a little bit early, and I'm not saying everybody should get into this one. I think we should wait for the 5 o'clock reversal. I'm getting into one small trade there. I just want to have a look at that break point again, and I'm merely looking at this market structure here that we've attempted to get out. We're not seeing the volume that we generally like to see. Mungize, welcome to the channel. I'm not seeing the volume towards the top side. So again, I do think the 5 o'clock volume we're going to get may be a push towards the downside. So I'm putting in a feeler there. It's just below support. It's a little bit early. I wouldn't follow on this one. Rather wait for the 5 p.m. mark. We are going to stay live past the 5 p.m. mark. We're going to make sure we close out, and we do see Trump in the show regardless. We will make sure we see Trump no matter what. We'll make sure, whether we're going to hunt it out, whether we're going to find it, we will see Trump across the board. Another good telltale sign, this is currently looking at USD ZAR, is that dollar strength that we saw, right, come in, should have been an absolute machine for USD ZAR. We should have seen USD ZAR completely shoot through the roof. And we're not seeing that, right? We're seeing USD ZAR hang around pretty casually, nonchalant, no issues, and just pretty much waiting out in this area. Dane, your cheat will be the move. Yeah, 100%. I think, 5 o'clock, 5:30 is definitely where it's going to be. Tamila, I think I might be your settings, press the settings button and change it to 1080p. Let's see. Akil saying possible stop hunting. Currently, yeah, absolutely, definitely, and possibly. Revenge trading on the way. No, Aslam, no revenge trading this afternoon. Zero revenge trading. Gawain's asking where's Tesla's TP. I would say a TP, a good TP to hold long term, is going to be looking for the value proposition on Tesla at that $300 a share. I think it has the legs to do it. We're sitting at 150 now. It's able to double on that. So again, if you put in $150 there, that can essentially double on that side of the space. Someone said something about settings. Yeah, Andy, let's see, Tamelo was saying struggling. Screen's blurry on your side, Dane. Maybe a bit of adjusting. Screen should be epic. I'm not saying I'm the best, but screen should be great. You might just want to change your streaming settings. So if you're watching on YouTube, right, you're going to see down below, somewhere here in the corner, if my bearings are right, you're going to see a little cog, like a little settings wheel. That allows you to change the setting. Oh, there we go. Tamila's saying it's fine now. Yeah, imagine Tesla smashes 300. Like, that's massive. I'm going in a little bit big on Tesla. I'm holding a standard lot on Tesla, just to give you guys a little bit of a better indication. So what does that mean on a standard lot? I'll give you guys a quick example here. On a standard lot for Tesla, it means that should there we go. Okay. Right. Should that standard lot materialize to the $300 a share, that will result in a $15,000 trade. In a $15,000 trade. Yeah. Which is what now? I think it's about 240,000 Rand. So $250,000, which is well worth waiting for. That's where currently I'm sitting on that from Tesla's perspective. Okay, so US30 is currently moving towards the downside. As we said in our previous setup, we would only bring out Trump if we hit that 500 pips mark. Again, we're going to wait for the confirmation, right? It's very, very possible before we get that 5 p.m. mark, we could start to see, potentially a bounce there in that region. Wherever it may end up being, we could see a bounce there, and then markets, continue towards that direction. But it definitely looks like, guys, this was a liquidity grab. Big banks are just trying to get back their money. Again, we're traders, we adapt, we make a plan. So it definitely looks like liquidity grab. If 5 p.m. we start to break those levels, I would certainly start to get in a trade here. Even better, and I'd say the best case scenario here, or even better than any of those trades, honestly, in my personal opinion, would be that if at 5 p.m, let's have a look here. I just want to look at how this plays out really quickly, guys. Give me a second. There we go. So there's the channel that I believe the market is in. So at 5 p.m., should we break this channel, 33.728, 5:15, that is where the sell is going to be for me. That's where I'm going to go big. That's where I'm going to go hard. Let's have a look here. Okay, so that sell from my perspective is already running well over 500 pips in profits. So I'm bringing Trump out. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I'm going to bring Trump out again. It's part of the new strategy to ignore the first impulse from the New York Stock Exchange. Again, a lot of people call out, have a signal. And this is why and I'm not speaking bad about anybody who produces signals. I have nothing against it. If you're good at what you do, that's amazing. But a lot of people just call out a sell now before the New York Stock Exchange or buy now. And people end up holding these massive losses, even blowing accounts, because in order to hold that kind of volume, I mean, we're talking here in the region of 33910. We're talking about in the region of 1,500 pips. If you accidentally sold at that low level, you got to hold 1,500 pip stop loss, which will just smash an account. No, some of the guys are amazing at what they do. Again, I'm not speaking bad about anybody who provides signals. If you do what you do and you do it well, absolutely, I applaud you. I just personally believe that trading is about building an art and a skill. So guys, we're breaking that level there, and I think this is going to be the true direction of the markets. Again, we might get that volume in a little bit before 5 o'clock, but we're getting that push through the bottom end of this market structure here. And I just want to zoom in really quickly. Again, I don't want to get caught into a liquidity grab from the downside. Let's have a look here. Right, but if we hold out below this level, below 5 o'clock, this would be the value proposition where I would definitely start to look at holding and adding in some more sells there. I'm moving my earlier trade stop loss to entry, just to entry right there. Just adding that into entry. And again, if we hold out below this level, as I drew it out a little bit earlier, after 5, then we are on the way to the money train once again, and for a second time, second day in a row, as we dominate the markets this week. So again, I'm just going to leave that there. I'm just going to create some alerts really quickly, just so we're on the same page. I do that in MetaTrader just for the reason being that it's a bit louder. It comes through on my system. Okay, good stuff. So we're just going to leave that at play there. Let's quickly have a look at where else we are running in the market. USD ZAR, again, struggling to break out here. We might see a breakout through the top side. As I'm saying, running a 6,000 point trailing, that seems fair. That's about 600 pips. That sounds like a good and healthy amount of swing there. I'm just moving straight to entry. As I'm saying, he's laid in his sells. Good stuff. Again, NASDAQ pushing back. So again, in support of, let's see, who was it? Kill Singh saying we could make that downside move. I agree in that fully. Again, volume was to the top side. Markets are really looking like they want to make a downside break. So we just need to see, do we get the volume to support that? Certainly on the dollar index really quickly, we're looking again at that dollar index. We're seeing that dollar build up in value again. Pretty much wiping out the losses that we saw after that fundamental data release. So again, we might be living in a future, or we might be living in a time where the big banks understand we can understand and read fundamental data. We're not idiots, right? And so we might be living in a time where what worked in the past doesn't work anymore. Right, there's a bunch of volume, they catch a bunch of trades, a bunch of people into stop losses at the time of those big events. And that is the question we need to ask ourselves, are we essentially, can we still do the same old thing? And the question and the answer is no, right? Banks will catch on to these things, and we need to adapt. And that is what I love, truly love about GlobeX360, is that GlobeX360 acts as your broker, your partner in the markets. They're not aiming to trade against you. They're sending your orders to liquidity, meaning we have a platform that is safe, that when we see a market move, we know that is from the bank, and we know that's not from the broker. We know that's not meddling or manipulation or anything like that. We know truly that that is happening in an international market. It's not a local form of manipulation. And that just gives me so much peace as a trader, because to analyze data is important. If I have a spike in market data, I need to have the confidence to know that is coming from liquidity, that is coming from big banks. So again, I'm just plugging there and just sharing the love for what it is we do, and just for GlobeX360 as a whole. Guys, if you haven't already, go and smash that like button. If you haven't smashed the like button, then I know you're a monitoring spirit. You know what's good. Go ahead and do it. If we've earned your like, go ahead and do that. If you aren't yet subscribed, it's a no-brainer, guys. It's free. Every time we have a brand new upload, you get access to that. Every time we take a private video, we make it public, you get a notification to that. So even if you aren't a Globex 360 live account client, and if you aren't a Globex 360 live account client, I don't know what to say. There's only one place to call home. But even if you aren't, once we have our private videos that maybe you don't have access to, then you could be in a position, once we move that video from private to public, you get a notification pop up and say, hey, this video is now public and you can now watch it. Why would you not want to hit the subscribe button? It's free. If you don't hit the subscribe button, you're going to have 40 years of bad luck, of bad stop losses following. No, I'm joking. I wouldn't wish that on anybody in the world. Okay, let's have a look at our Tesla setups here really quickly. Heard Assam saying we're already in profit. Assam must have bought super early there. I'm hoping we are moving well into profit there. US30, we're still in good profit at the moment. I'm currently running at around about well over 1,000 pips in profit, and this is great stuff, guys. Now let's keep our eyes out here. If we can get a break at the 5 p.m. mark, 5:15, 5:30, whatever it takes, I don't care. I'll be live until tomorrow if I have to with you guys. We will make sure we close up the show with at least a couple thousand pips in profit. But if we make that break here, if we make that push, that impulse, then I would consider getting long. There we go. So we're making that a little bit of consider going short. So there we go. We're getting a little bit of a push down. Again, I'm going to go ahead and add in a position there. Lay it in a position. Let's go have a look here. I'm going to use a 600 pip. We have to maybe use 800. Okay, there we go. So we are already running into profit towards the downside. Original trade currently sitting in 1,500 pips in profit as we go towards that downside. So again, just absolutely dominating the markets here. Again, just changing a bit of strategy. And again, we did that yesterday live, right? We didn't have time, weeks and months to plan and make sure, okay, we're going to give you something that, you know, we've back tested over weeks and months. This has just changed in the last couple of weeks of January. Right, that is what it is all about. So I'm holding in that sell there, got a little bit of a stop loss in place. I would love to see that volume come in at 5 o'clock, a continuation toward the downside. Again, we are starting to look like we're breaking the larger market structure at play here, which sits on that 15 minutes. So we are certainly looking pretty for that break towards the top side. There we go. We're starting to get that little bit of a volume kick in there. There we go. There's the 5 o'clock volume, baby. All right, guys, I'd love for you to share your screenshots. If you're in profit right now, you know what to do. My Telegram handle is down below. Take a screenshot of your profit, share the love, post it on social media, tag us in it. My tag or my Instagram handle that you can tag me in is at dvdm_. There we go. So you just search at DVDM and you should get that. And then again, as always, you know the deal. You can tag in Globex 360. Just straight off Globex 360. So guys, what we're going to do is the first person to tag Globex 360, I'm going to go ahead and give away a $300 equity booster. Meaning that if you go ahead and tag us, the first person to do that, we'll go ahead and give away a $300 equity booster. So again, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Tag that you're in Dollars for Lunch, share the love. That's what it's all about. Tag us. Don't send it to me, tag us. So we're going to do a quick 2-minute intermission. I just want to change up some batteries really quickly, and I'll be back with you guys in 2 minutes, and we will continue and we'll pump the market. So give us 2.5 minutes. Let's get those tags in, share the love, share the comments, and let's go. Okay, beautiful stuff. Okay, if you guys can see me right now, it means that we have not broken anything, right? So if you see me right now, just make sure, drop in the comments. We are still live. Make sure you can hear me. Make sure you can see me. I tend to break things when I change batteries, right? It's the way it is. Also, please note, guys, today, if we get cut off a little bit earlier, we have experienced that when load shedding kicks in, we tend to see we somehow drop internet connectivity. That happened yesterday. I do apologize for that. But if I do pause for an extended period, if we can't reconnect, then I do apologize for that. We do have a failover line coming in and being installed tomorrow. So that means as a secondary line, as a backup, should one of our lines drop, we immediately switch over in real time over to a secondary line as redundancy. Leslie has jumped in and subscribed. Welcome to the channel, guys. We're continuing to dominate markets, continue to lock in profits towards the downside. We continue to make that push. I'd say secure some profits now just in case of a reversal. Lock in some profits depending where you got in. If you got in early, and there's a few people who have got in quite early, I'm currently running in here at around about 1,300 pips on that one trade. Stop losses at break even. I'm going to lock in a little bit of profit there, and let's just maybe drag that stop loss down a little bit, and I'm going to just change that over there. Second trade is a little bit lower down. I'm maybe just going to reduce my risk there. So I'm just going to close that lower trade. I've got an earlier entry. If you're in there, perfectly fine. You just want to obviously make sure you manage that accordingly. But again, what we'd like to see this afternoon is we'd like to see that continuation towards downside. We'd like to see a bunch of volume come in there and at least an additional 1,000, maybe 2,000 pips towards the downside. I would be pretty happy with that. Now, quickly just having a look at that dollar index, what it's doing. It's just tapering out now. It's just making a little bit of a retracement. And I do think the dollar index will start to create a new sort of market structure that we can start to analyze. It might look in the region of something like that. So a little bit of a push down is good. It's healthy. It's a little bit of retracement. And then we could see some sort of support level being realized somewhere in that region right there for the dollar index to essentially continue that run towards top side, even potentially a little bit higher. Just having a look at some of those other previous highs there. Again, we could find supports quite near on that dollar index, and then we see that continuation move towards top side. Again, the dollar index works just the same as every other setup, every other trading pair. It works on resistance and or support. So those are going to be the key levels we want to pay attention to as we continue to see this market move there. Again, even though the dollar index, can potentially move off that level, the correlation isn't exactly there. We will dive deeper into the markets later in on the course of the week, in next week, and have a look at when the dollar index moves. Do we see that as a leading sign of what could end up happening in the space? I'd love for you guys to check it out if you have a bit of time, but just have a look here. If we see that impulse towards the top side, and then we see the change in market structure, is the change on the market structure, and this is my question, is the change in the market structure appearing first on the dollar index and then translating into indice markets, or the other way around? I'd love for you guys to know. If you've got a bit of time, go ahead and have a look at that, because that will give you a little bit of an edge on your strategy as we continue to essentially see markets move there. So I would like to see us get into that 333, break that previous low, get into the 333-500 range again, but we are going to wait out for that momentum. Where would I put our TP for the US30 sell? Let's have a look here. Yesterday we had a very, very strong TP. We're looking at a very, very aggressive TP yesterday. But again, just looking at where we are at the moment, a break-in structure here could very well mean we could start to see, let's have a look here. I just want to clean up this chart really quickly. I don't want to clone it. I want to delete. So a break-in structure could very well mean, I'm dragging everything else but what I'm looking for. It's too big of a time frame. There we go. A break-in structure could very well mean we could see markets start to create a new structure, something along the lines here. Looking at that top level, it might be a little bit more aggressively positioned that way. So a solid break-in structure could mean a retracement down to the zone. So again, if you're looking to essentially capitalize on a swing here, we could get down to that 33,527. So 33,527, 335. You can even go 33522. in terms of a potential TP. We would love to see a push down in that direction. That would be where we would like to get going. Now, currently sitting on my trade on my earlier sell, currently running here on that $12,000 in profit right there. A nice fat healthy sell. It looks like we're starting to get that 5 o'clock volume towards downside. Let's have a look here. We just want to see now a nice healthy push, and we'll bring out Trump one last time and we'll get things wrapped up for this afternoon. I'd just like to see one more healthier push before I leave you guys, but I'd just like to see a break of the previous low, and that'll give me, it'll make me content that we've got it sorted out for this afternoon. So I'm just looking for a break of this previous low, a nice push here into that 33658 mark. Yeah, 33659. Basically, if we can break that 33670 level, I would be content. 33660 level, sorry, I would be content. We are seeing definitely there's more sellers in the space towards that downside. We can certainly see that triangle forming, which basically means we've got more sellers in the space, and yeah, it would be good to see a potential breakout. Now again, if we isolate this price structure in the markets, you guys will know this in terms of a descending triangle, meaning we've got more sellers. Remember, the job of a buyer is essentially to drive price higher. The job of a seller is to drive price lower. So when we're looking at any market structure, we're looking at price action, we have to consider we've got buyers, we've got sellers, and when price is systematically making these lower lows, we talk about lower low, all we're doing there is saying that, you know, there's more sellers in this particular market structure. So when we look at a descending triangle, just from a pure price action perspective, we're seeing more sellers. And again, a triangle tends to break out 50 to 70% of its formation, right? So if you extend this triangle, if you line up all the wicks here, let's say that the triangle ends there, we are in that 50 to 70% formation space now. And this would be a good time to see a break towards downside for this triangle to be true, and for there legitimately to be more sellers than buyers in the structure. So that's going to be something ideally we would want to see here. Again, and I do apologize, my charts are quite messy. I will clean that up over time. We will get better at just making it look a bit better over time. But again, we just touched on that level. It seems like every time I say we want to beat a specific level, markets tend to just play on that level. We technically went down to the 33,660 level, but we didn't break it. So let's stay tuned and see if we can break that level. So people are saying dollars in the house. Got some profit at 20 minutes from 5 selling. Beautiful stuff. Wild Mystic smashed it. ZAR FX saying pulling back, not quite yet. Let's have a look there. As I'm saying, 33 flat was from yesterday. Absolutely, we looked at a very aggressive 33 flat from yesterday. Someone's asking Nasdaq. Let's give Nasdaq a quick look. Nasdaq also looking strong for that 5 o'clock continuation towards downside. A little bit of volume here, a little bit of sideways momentum. I would like to see a little bit of a stronger impulse towards that downside mark here to give me that confidence that I can leave you guys all and we are in a good space. Some people are saying Danny's the only trader I know who flexes on the charts and not on the gram. Yeah, guys, unfortunately, we need less Instagram traders and more actual traders in the world right now. And that's, again, I enjoy being on Instagram. I enjoy being on social media. But personally speaking, it doesn't help anybody to be standing in front of Gucci. Again, I've put in years and years and years to get where I'm getting. And my only issue with being on Instagram and saying trade Forex and you can do this, yes, absolutely. My prayer and my dream is that you guys watching can do more than I've ever done. Ever. That you can go to greater heights, help more people, impart more. My dream is to empower others. But by being on Instagram saying, you know, take this course or sign up here, you can do what I can do. I know that's not true. I've put in the time. I've put in hundreds, thousands of hours into this craft, and that's what I encourage people to do rather is put some time in, learn, come share with us, be part of the community. That's what it's all about. 100%. Assam hit the nail on the head. The best traders are not known. 100%. If you're an amazing trader, you don't want to be known, guys. I don't want people to see me on the streets knowing, you know, they can hold me for ransom, they can ask whatever figure. It's silly. I don't like it. Anyway, let's see if we can get that break there with that last comment there. Hopefully that was a good segue into that break on the 33.66 flat mark. I'd like to see that push down. Again, it might tease us as it did yesterday. We were looking for that breakthrough of that level, and it really made us wait. I think we waited until around about 5:30 to get that break. Only flex gods on the gram posting with cash and Gucci shoes. The Gucci shoes with the P on them, with a big P. If you're a signal, I'd like to say Forex, then you can come and see them on the gram. Yeah, it is what it is. No hate, guys. Listen, no hate from my side. It's just a personal opinion. If you're doing well, show it off. If you're living proud, show it off. I'd like to know your guys' thought on this, right? And this is just an opinion, right? Sometimes when you show things, it inspires people, but it can also make people look at your life, look at their lives, and feel depressed, right? Especially where we are in the current age and time of things, right? One of my beliefs is that, you know, if you're showing watches and G-Wagons and all the stuff in cash, for some people, they may be inspired to follow your footsteps, right? But if you're not saying how you got there, if you're just saying, you know, trade Forex or start a business or do a tender, you know, you're setting up people to fail. And then when they fail, they look at where you are, look at where they are, and it actually holds people down. It lets people think they're less than. It makes people think they can't achieve. And that's not the truth. The reality is anything in life takes time. It takes effort. It's hard, guys. Yesterday, I put in 18 hours of being behind the PC with you guys. And again, this is different because we're doing this for every single one of you, but that's the time and the hours that it takes, right? I'm not sitting on an island, I'm not retired, but I live a really good life because of the skill that I've learned. That's my only downside of why I don't like essentially flexing things. It can inspire people, it can motivate them, but I just feel people come to me in a lot of the, you know, the public speaking events that I've participated in, and people come and say, you know, I'm not at your, you know, I'm not there, I'm failing, you know, it demotivates people when they can't meet that expectation. That's my only thing. That's my only side note there. Okay, so just having a look at where we are on US30. I'm just going to hide the chats really quickly, just so we can get into the details. US30 is making a little bit of reversal here. So I would like to essentially hedge here. I've got my sell there, but I also would like to buy just in case that US30 volume is going to be top side movement, right? So I'm placing a buy in here. And all I'm basically doing here is I'm placing a buy. I'm going to close up my profits from my initial sell. I'm placing in a buy, and I'm literally just going to put a stop loss below the last low, right? So I'm placing in a buy, putting a stop loss below the last low, because if the 5 o'clock volume is top side, I want to ride that volume towards the top side. Okay, I'm then going to go ahead and set up a pending order below that last low. So I'm just doing this a MetaTrader because it's already set up to know my levels, but I'm going to put in a sell stop below market structure breakouts. So if the 5 o'clock is some sort of reversal, I'd like to catch that top side movement. If it's a breakout towards the downside, I want to catch that movement too. So I'm layering in a bunch of smaller 15 lot orders there, and I'm going to go ahead and quickly just edit in and put in their stop losses, and I'm going to set up the stop losses. And I just sometimes flick around from platform to platform just because one platform has all my settings in already. Just makes it a little bit easier. But for the sell stops on the bottom end, I'm looking at a stop loss here of that 33,755. I'm just going to copy that. I'm just adding those stop losses to all my pending orders. Again, you never want to have an order that doesn't have a stop loss because that can end extremely bad. There we go. Okay, and then on that buy, I'm going to go ahead and put in there. I think I'm going to go ahead and do a, let's just see here. I'm going to do a 5,000 points trailing stop on the buy. 5,000 points, which is plus minus 500 pips. Okay, so the market push up 500 pips, it will then essentially take that order. So there's my orders set up in the Globex 360 web trader, and as markets push up, it'll drag my stop loss with it. There we go. So there's my buy. There's the stop loss for my buy once we started to get that little bit of reversal. And again, I'm just making sure that the 5 o'clock volume is in my favor. And what I'll do on that first buy already is I'm just going to go ahead and move that stop loss on that first buy. And I'm just going to go and essentially just put that at a break-even situation. right? So now what I've done is I've closed up my profits from the earlier sell. Oh goodness, I just closed the trade instead of held the buy. Okay, I wasn't paying attention there. I'll add in another one, which I really don't want to do, but we'll do it anyway. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll do a 50 pip. 50 pip. There we go. I'm just going to go ahead and quickly go back and just make sure that has a trailing stop really quickly. Sorry guys, when I concentrate I get a little bit quiet just because I want to get it done right. I just accidentally closed up my buy. In profit, that's fine, but I obviously just want to have that trailing stop kick in. So once we get over the 5,000 points mark, it'll drag my trailing stop with it. For the time being, there's where my stop loss currently sits. So again, I'm going to just take that little bit of impulse towards the top side. Again, just looking at the 5 o'clock volume. Again, not being biased to anything. Triangle was more sellers in place. This can be a slight liquidity grab. Must fall to the ground now. Absolutely, it absolutely can. And essentially, that's all we want to do. Closed up my profit from the earlier sell. We're just trading structure. We're just trading price action and utilizing strategy to do that. So yeah, should we pull back down? I'll happily take that initial loss. I've taken the profit from the original sell, and then we've got some pending orders laid out below price. Price has shown us where its floor is currently sitting, and that's all we need to do. Okay, Gwen saying dollar index moves first and then the US30 follows. Gwen, I'd love to know from you. So where are we currently moving? And let's have a look at where that essentially is. Okay, there we go. So dollar index is busy falling through the floor here, and essentially is broken out. It's a little bit of a sideways momentum it's had here. Made a little poke below support. My big question is, are we going to see some sort of movement there towards that downside? That's what I'd like to see. Then we should see the traditionals kick back in, or traditional trading perspective kick back in, where we then get that additional movement towards. If we see that fall, right, we should get traditional movement towards the top side, as you guys know. So running on this little buy there, running on about $2,000 there. Again, I'd like to see, okay, so that 5,000 points has been met and my stop loss has been adjusted. Oh, hasn't yet pulled to break even. Let's quickly have a look here. So market's very thin in the space. A very thin market here means that we are and can look out for a substantial breakout. Markets are thinning out, absorbing all the data. There's a bunch of volatility here, essentially looking at that. Let's have a look if we've got any fib levels here. We can maybe deploy from a stop loss / support perspective. Okay, we do. So we've obviously punched through, we're utilizing the Fibonacci levels here, right? And we're obviously seeing here, we've punched through the 38.2. We're finding 38.2 support, stopped at the 50 fib. Markets could retrace to the 61.8 before we see some sort of bounce or continuation. But anything above the 61.8, especially in the 5 o'clock territory, I would then start to consider really layering the orders in and going long. Right, so Fibonacci, all that it's going to do is it's going to give us some dynamic support and resistance zones that we can essentially look at trading off of. Right, in that level there. So anything between those zones kind of dead, and we obviously want to make sure we get a break. Yeah, so we just got to wait to see where the break happens, and I'll stick with you guys until we get a break, until we get a confirmed direction. We'll stick it out. We'll see what we get out of that. I'm just looking here in terms of this bull market here. If we're getting any sort of secondary confirmation on our way down of where our exact support levels are, which I'm just waiting to see here, just to see where is our breaking point from a cross perspective.